All right, I guess we're gonna go with this. So it's been like super exciting to be here, even with the amount of people here. I've been to the past couple Litecoin summits, so it's just really exciting to get to see a lot of familiar faces. I've been doing this now for, or I guess this, I've been in crypto, building in crypto, being a part of crypto for almost 12 years now. So every single bear market, every single bull market, basically all of it, I've been a participant in. And one of the things I really want to talk about today, I found it so interesting that in talking about this, and a lot of my experience is actually in payments, but I cannot tell you how much rage and frustration and challenge there is around, the global banks and the banking system and the Federal Reserve and everything else. And I've just found that it's very, very misunderstood. And so to be able to harness, let's maybe even say that rage and put it in the right place and make crypto even more successful, I've found this sort of information is something I really like to talk about. So, so I mentioned I've been in crypto for a while. I saw the original post that Charlie made on Bitcoin Talk, so that was something I had read even when it initially had come out. I've started other payments companies, so I resonated with this immediately, particularly around the quicker block times and something for payments. So payments especially resonated with me. And then again, when you get into crypto and you start talking about anything with the banks, everyone hates the banks. And there's all this rage of conspiracy theories and everything around the banks and the Illuminati and the evilness and all the conspiracy theories, right? All the various elements around what is really behind money and how it works and the global banking system. And so when you see today, especially when you look even previously in 2008 and the structural issues that arose in the banking systems and the pain that we felt from that, and household debt, increasing debt, and especially now, probably higher household debt than ever before. Also at the verge of, as people are talking about, potentially significant recession. Are the banks to blame for this, right? Are the conspiracies true? Is there actually something here behind all of this? So what I want to go into is, so first off, like, what do banks actually do? What should they do, right? What part do they even play in all of this, besides all of the memes? And then even starting off now, a lot of this has now been really embraced by like kind of crypto history, crypto lore, crypto memes. And so there's a lot of really cool information in here that I'll share. You might have even been able to see before, but so where did even banks come from in the first place? So if you've read about it or are familiar, they come from Goldsmiths. So Goldsmiths, this is an early foundry, well, just a team of tradesmen. They would just make stuff out of gold. They'd make jewelry, they'd make coins. And people started to figure out that there was this intense meme value of gold. So it's really funny. Gold actually doesn't have any value whatsoever other than the value that we ascribe to it. We find it valuable, we think it's interesting, we use it in trade, therefore it has value. And there's very common features that get talked about all over around its stability. It's chemically stable. It means it doesn't tarnish, so it looks nice. It's workable. You can mint it into coins very easily at reasonable temperatures. It's value dense. You can pay for high value items in small amounts of denominations or sort of weight or the amount of coins you need to have with you. And it's scarce. And so people found this very relevant to be able to pay for things and start using it as currency. So that happened. And then with anything else, there starts to become some limitations, right? It's very hard to divide coins. It's hard to make change. The safety component is actually very significant because now if I'm walking around with a whole pocket full of gold coins, that opens me up to robbery, theft, and other things. Verification, sure enough, the fraudsters come in. There's various gold alloys, there's impurities. So, it's not always just the best. So there are some challenges. And so, but it was valuable. So now people stepped in. A goldsmith, they said, oh, well, I can solve some of these problems. I'm going to mint gold coins with my personal stamp on it, with my very intricate designs, and now you can believe me or trust me that this gold now represents what it is. So the purity, the weight, and so people started using these coins based on the trusts that the goldsmith created. And they had very ornate designs, right? So these are some samples from the photo I actually took in a museum in Venice. in the 1300s and 1400s, these were actually minted by the ruling class at the time called the Doges. So these are like literal Doge coins, which I'm surprised hasn't been talked about a lot more, but yeah, these are literal Doge coins, the original ones from the 1300s, and that's what they looked like. They're very ornate, hard to copy, and this is so important, and that money is fundamentally and almost exclusively based on trust, and trust alone. If you trust that something's going to have value, you trust that something is what it is, and now you can use it as a currency, as a medium of exchange, this is what it's all about. And so gold fulfilled that for us. And now the third problem started to get solved, which was, now I have all these gold coins, I want to be able to store them. So the goldsmiths already had all the gold, they already had all their tools, they already had a very secure environment. They said, okay, well, I'll just hold the gold for you on your behalf. So now when people had all this gold, they would now pay the goldsmiths to hold it for them, which seems insane. Those are essentially negative interest rates, but that's common. It actually is becoming even more prevalent in crypto storage, crypto security, paying someone to basically custody crypto for you. So this is where it all originated from. And you got bearer receipts. And so these are some samples, and the goldsmiths would write out these really ornate certificates that said, here's the amount of gold that you can come and redeem for me at some point in the future. And naturally, people just started using those certificates rather than the gold itself, because now it was way easier to just take these pieces of paper and walk around all over with the paper and use them as to trade rather than the actual gold. And so that's where the whole as good as gold expression even came from. It originated from just now using pieces of paper. And this is also the origination of banknotes. This is literally what it was, is that you're minting certificates based on a bearer instrument based on gold. So this is now the beginning of banking. This is a bank now. So he has all of your gold, he writes the receipts for your gold, those receipts get now issued out in the world and used as trade and used as currency. There's nothing stopping this guy whatsoever from making as many of these receipts as he wants. And that would now, today, get more talked about fractional reserve banking, but that's exactly what they did. So they said, I'm gonna write out as many gold receipts as I like. You have to trust me anyway. And then, by the way, I can loan them to you, and I'll earn a whole bunch of interest on top of it. So it's extremely, extremely profitable. But there is one problem, and then if you get too carried away, this is what you'd have as a bank run, right? Let's say you issue twice as many certificates as the amount of gold that you have, and everyone comes back to actually redeem all of the gold simultaneously, your business is gone. And not only does your business go away, it actually would collapse the entire economy of which this is based, because all those certificates now no one would trust. So the trust underpins the entire system. If they got carried away with it, they would literally collapse the entire system. Everything would just completely fall apart. So they need to protect themselves against bank runs. So what did they do? They created a central bank. And so now a central bank comes into play. They work with all of the other banks. And so now what they've done is essentially minimize the chances of any sort of a bank run. So now if one of the banks has a whole bunch of customers come back in and they want to redeem all those gold certificates, the central bank borrows funds from one of the other member banks and then distributes it out to the bank that is less solvent than the others, which is kind of weird because this is exactly how decentralization works, but I guess that would be a story for another time. But this is the central banking model. And now that also had some problems. And this is where then it gets very interesting, or the start of where the interest kind of gets built in. Every bank issued their own certificates, right? So every member bank that would be brought in as this consortium for a central bank had their own very unique and intricate regional or bank-specific certificates to claim the gold. That would be impossible based on the model that I just said. So they had to basically all come together, eliminate that, get one unified currency that they could all issue and redeem sort of between all of the banks. And then that meant someone had to have the power to be able to basically create the money. And so that is very true. And so now the central bank has the authority essentially to create the money which all of the other banks use, which is where all of this stuff comes from. Because when you have a system like that of, oh, there's going to be one person, one entity, or one group that can now control all of the money, that is just ripe for conspiracy theories, and quickly people jump on that of, oh, of course this is now going to be extremely corrupt, and they're going to abuse this, and we're the ones that are going to be the ones left holding the bag. Let's see. But it really isn't that interesting. At the end of the day, when you look at it more objectively, the bank's role is really just a financial intermediary. They're sort of this boring middleman, and all they're really doing is basically using value in a productive way, which I'll describe in a little bit more. But if you really do look at it objectively, as rife as this is for conspiracies, it actually is